What?
What is
What?
this?
What?
What is this?
What?
What is this?
What?
What is this? What is this?
What?
What is this?
What?
What is this? What is this? What is this?
What?
What is this?
What?
What is this?
What?
What is this?
What?
What
What?
is this?
What? What is this? How you doing, folks? Lame Schmo here, coming to you from FEMA region number 3. These is the last days. Days of Noah, days of Lot. Ain't a lot of days left. No. Gonna get right on with it. Didn't plan to do a video this soon. I'm telling you, sometimes Elohim just says smack bab, get to it. So I'm gonna get vetted. We're gonna look at some more signs in the Shamaim, my friends. Elohim told us in the book of Genesis, the book of Bereshit, first book of our scriptures, that he would give us signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars. And right now we're going to look at Saturn. Saturn is representative of a particular entity. What entity might that be, my bunkies? Well, let's let Steve Cicciolanti tell us about it.
All right, Saturn is a very beautiful planet, but its number tells us something ominous. It is the 6th planet. And you know 6 is not a good number. 6 is not a good number. 666, bad. You don't have to know much of the Bible. You know, hey, that's bad. Well, what is so bad about Saturn? He's a bad boy. There is a mysterious 6-sided hexagon on its north pole. The hexagon is a symbol of the devil. 6 is a symbol of the devil. There's something really is strange about this planet because a hexagon is not a naturally occurring shape in nature, and yet the 6 well-defined sides maintain shape even while rotating. Nobody can explain this. Other than if we have a biblical worldview and we understand that the 6th planet represents Satan. Saturn is sounds like Satan, represents him, and in fact his name comes from the betrayer of Uranus, Saturn. In other words, Satan, all right? The one who betrayed God.
Thank you, Pastor Steve. Oh, Steve Cicciolanti, pray for us, great man of Elohim from Australia. Oh, my friends, why have I chosen to talk about Saturn? I wanted to reinforce the fact also that Saturn was representative of Hasatan, Satan, the evil one, the enemy, the destroyer. And I wanted to use that little piece of video from one of Pastor Steve's great teachings to reinforce that fact. Well, let me tell you, one afternoon, it was last year, I was studying all about the beautiful harbinger, the Comet, when it was coming through our solar system, ready to make perihelion on Hanukkah and Thanksgiving Day of 2013. And I noticed that the planet Saturn entered into the constellation Libra at the same time as the Comet. It entered in at the end of November. And it stayed in that constellation, I noticed, for a whole year. Almost not quite a whole year, very close to a whole year. And after we look all about this on Stellarium, which is coming up in the video in just a moment, I'm going to go back onto timeanddate.com and see exactly how many days, weeks, and however, they give you all the information on dateandtime.com to show how many days there were in between one date and another. It's a calculation you can do to show how many days Saturn stayed in the constellation of Libra, which represents the scales, the balances, judgment. When I went back and systematically checked what Saturn did between January of 2013 and say that around the 3rd month of 2015, I found some very interesting things. Saturn was doing its thing, and most of it were harbingers of not good. Now, in many cases, the planets will go into what is called retrograde motion. The planet will stop, and then all of a sudden it will appear to move in the opposite direction, which is called retrograde motion. Now, it's just an illusion. Let's take a look at the description of retrograde motion on that website I like to use a lot, Earth and Sky. All right, here we are, my friends, on the website Earth Sky. I love to use this. They have a lot of great scientific information. They don't care much for Elohim, and they don't quote the scriptures, and they won't put two and two together. But of course, they never do. Sometimes they will validate the scriptures and won't even realize it. I love that. Now let's take a look at what it says about what retrograde motion is, which has a lot to do with what Saturn did at certain integral times. Let's see, what is retrograde motion? Sometimes the planets appear to change direction in the sky. This retrograde motion is entirely an illusion caused by the Earth passing the slower moving outer planets. Okay, now let's go down here, and it gives you a little more of a description. It says, you can test this the next time you pass a car on the highway. As you approach the slower car, it is clearly moving in the same direction you are. Right as you pull alongside and pass it, however, the car appears to move backward just for a moment. As you continue pulling away, the car resumes its forward motion. The same thing happens as Earth passes the slower moving outer planets. When we pass Jupiter, that's my favorite planet, Elohim. I love Jupiter. But I digress. When we pass Jupiter, for example, the gas giant appears to reverse course in the sky for a couple of months. It says here, this makes the planets appear to move very strangely. So you see, my friends, what would happen with the planet, it'll be moving along in the right direction, then all of a sudden it could stop. And sometimes appear not to move at all for several days or so, and then all of a sudden, sometimes even months, and then all of a sudden, it'll start moving in the opposite direction from whence it should have been moving. And Saturn did this quite a bit between January of 2013 into 2015. And we stop on a very integral prophetic day. All right, my friends, here we are on the great astronomy program Stellarium. Stellarium is a free download. You gotta get it. Ow! That's right, Fritz, you got it. Now look, there's Saturn, right here. Representative of Saturn, just like Steve was telling us. Smack that between Virgo and Libra, right between the woman and judgment. Isn't that where most men end up anyway? Well, never mind. There we are, Saturn, representative of Saturn, and it does some very interesting things between January 1st of 2013 all the way into the third month of 2015. So we're going to ride along with Saturn. 26 months on Saturn. All right, we're going to start on January 1st, 2013. Here we go. We're just going to go day by day. There we go. Now we're going to watch him move toward Libra. Moving toward Libra. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Through February. Now watch this. There's going to be a jump. Watch that. Did you notice? Little jump right there. That is going into daylight saving time of 2013. And if you watch my video, The Curse of Daylight Saving Time, you know that something's always happening around that time. Either when it starts or when it ends. It started on March the 10th of 2013. It stops dead in its tracks. It goes into retrograde motion 3 days later. Watch, it starts to move toward Virgo. There he goes. Now what happened? We're going to go back to March the 13th. 3/13/13. What happened on that day, my friends? 3/13/13. That was the day that the false prophet stepped out of Revelation 13. Jorge, the false prophet, was elected Pope Francis I. The same day that Saturn, which represents Satan, goes into retrograde motion. It stops in its tracks on daylight saving time of 2013 goes into retrograde motion on the 13th of March. Now it's moving toward Virgo. We're going through April. We're going into May. Now watch. Watch what happens next. Now we're going into June. All right, here we are zoomed in much closer on June the 18th. Now we're going to watch Saturn. It's still in its retrograde motion, moving toward Virgo. There it goes. It's moving in, moving in, moving in, moving in. We're into July. Then all of a sudden, watch, it stops dead in its tracks around the 8th of July. And then all of a sudden, on the 15th, July 15th, let's go back and take a look. We'll go back to July the 11th. Let's zoom in a little more. Let's zoom in a little more again. Watch again, watch. 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, into the 16th. It starts moving back again toward Libra. What was the 15th into the 16th of July in 2013? Ladies and gentlemen, it was the day that John F. Piece of Chaff, old man piece of wood, Secretary of State, got on a plane and went over to the Middle East to start that round of Israeli-Palestinian peace talks of 2013. He got on that plane on 7/15 of 2013, and that day was, my friends, the 9th of Av of 2013. So there we go. Now Saturn is moving on. Its retrograde motion is over. We're going to zoom back, and it's moving again toward Libra. Let's keep going. We're into September now. September of 2013. October of 2013. Now here we go. Now, oh, let's go back a little bit. Did you see something there? Look at that. 11/3/2013. It's actually a year ago. Exactly a year from this day that I'm making this video. I'm making this video on the 3rd of November, the day after fallback of daylight saving time of 2014. But look, a year ago, on this day in 2013, there was the very rare hybrid solar eclipse. Right there. What was the closest planet to it? Saturn, that represents Satan, as it was entering into Libra, the scales, the balances, or judgment. Let's turn that off. All right, now, here's where it gets interesting. Saturn enters Libra in the month of November. It was the 23rd of November. You can see it's right on the line, but it's going into Libra. Look at there. There's Comet Ison. It also entered Libra at the same exact time as Saturn. Because, you know, if you check around and you click on one of the stars, you can see there's a star in Libra right there. Comet Ison is beyond that star. And there's Saturn. Let's line that back up again. But there's Comet Ison entering Libra at the same time as Saturn, 23rd of November, 2013, 5 days before Comet Ison does its perihelion around the Sun. All right, now here we go. There's Saturn continuing on into Libra. Now we're into 2014, January 2014. Now keep a close eye. We're getting into February now. Now watch this. We're coming into March. March of 2014. Daylight saving time. Here's the jump. Watch the jump. There was the jump right there between the 8th and the 9th. All right, we're zoomed in on Saturn in Libra, March the 8th, 2014. It stopped dead in its tracks on March 8th, 2014. What was March 8th, 2014? Was the disappearance of the Malaysian plane, Flight 370. The next day, watch the jump, was Daylight Saving Time 2014. Saturn is stopped in its tracks. We zoom in a little bit more. March 9th, 2014. First day of Daylight Saving Time 2014. It stops dead in its tracks, then goes immediately into retrograde motion. We're going to stay zoomed in. We're into April now, 2014. Moving on, zip, zip, zip. We're into May. We're getting ready to go into June. All right, we're into June. All right, now watch what happens. We're zoomed in. Okay, we're gonna slow down a little bit. Gonna slow down a little bit. Okay, now we're into July. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. It stops dead in its tracks on the 27th. You see right there, watch, I'll go back to the 27th, 28th, 29th. Stops dead in its tracks. What was 7/27/2014? That was the day that the iPhone, with its voice, Siri, that whatever that is, said the opening of the gates of Hades. Saturn, which represents Satan, Satan, stops dead in its tracks, ends its retrograde motion on 7/27/2014, and continues back the other way on 7/28. What was 7/28/2014? It was the 100th anniversary of the start of World War I of 1914. What was 7/28 of 1914? It was the 9th of Av. There you go, vote. So right away, it stops its retrograde motion on 7/27/2014, goes back again into Libra on the 28th of July. Now we're into August. Now we're into September. It's getting interesting now. Now we're into October. It's moving along, moving along, moving along, moving along. All right, now, here we are, 1 year later. Now, I was saying before that Saturn entered into Libra on 11/23/2013. It stayed in there, inside Libra, the scales, which stand for judgment, until it begins to exit on 11/4. It exits. By the 8th, it's out. It starts to exit on the 4th. You can see it's right on the line. Then it's gone through. There we go. And it stays inside Libra from 11/23/2013 until it begins to exit on the 4th of November 2014. On election day, 11/4/2014. All right. It exits Libra, election day, 2014. Now we're into December 2014. Now we're into January 2015. We're going to go a little further. Now we're into February, March. We're going to slow down a little bit here. Now look what happens. There's the jump. 7th into the 8th. Daylight saving time begins in 2015 on March the 8th. What happens? Stops dead in its tracks on March the 8th. The beginning of daylight saving time 2015. All right, my friends, we're zoomed in a little bit, and we're still on March the 8th, 2015, first day of daylight saving time of that year. Now watch this. We're going to go real slow. We're going to go 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. It starts to go into retrograde motion on March the 20th of 2015. Let's go back again. It stays stock still from the 8th until the 20th, when it starts to go into retrograde motion once again. Saturn on March the 20th, 2015. What happens on March the 20th, 2015? Oh, Elohim. Ha ha. It is the 1st of Nisan, the first day of the Hebrew year. It is also that wonderful and long-awaited total solar eclipse which falls between the 2 blood moons of 2014 and the 2 blood moons of 2015. That solar eclipse that is coming, one of the major signs of the Shamayim in this coming year. Oh, Elohim. Maranatha, Maranatha.
Well, there you have it, my friends. Let's do a little recap of what Saturn did. Back and forth, retrograde motion, going forward, going back on these pivotal days, pivotal dates, prophetic times. appointed times, perhaps. Saturn's more dim. Just remember that, my friends. Satan has no power in and of himself. Elohim controls him like a silly, stupid little puppet. Get the puppet. It's the eclipse. Get the puppet. All right, now, let's have a little recap to show what these pivotal dates were. Just going to go over what Saturn did. Think about them. Study them. We don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know, all of the, the intricacies of what this planet did. Being in Libra, in the Judgment constellation, just as Ison went in, it went in, and it exits on the election day. Now, I'm making, as I speak right now, it is about an hour before election day. It is, let's see, it's 11:19 on November the 3rd, 2014. By the time you see this video, the election might be over. You might already know who's controlling the Senate. Big doings coming in this 2015. If you haven't seen my video, 2015, Shake the Tambourine.
Shake the tambourine, shake it,
Okay.
shake it, shake the tambourine.
Let's see. Watch that video. Now let's take a final look at what Saturn did in the time that we watched it.